My name's Dan Weber, and I'm being inducted into the IWCOA Hall of Fame, class of 2018. I started wrestling when I was about 5 years old. My dad is the one who introduced me to wrestling. He was a college wrestling coach, and his entire family, as well as my mom's entire family, had really had a lot of participation in wrestling. Both the Webers and the Pricings, a number of them went through Arlington High School, and it was my dad who got me interested as a little kid. I also had an older brother, Ron, who wrestled as well. He's 4 years older than me. And so the way that it went when I was a little kid is they only let me go to like maybe it was one practice every, no more than one practice a week. Let's put it that way. And up until the time I was in 6th grade, my dad only let me wrestle 9 matches a year. So basically I could pick any 3 tournaments that I wanted to, as long as they were one of the 3 tournaments that he had on the list. And so that's kind of how we did it. And really, to this day, I'm really grateful to my dad, really to my whole family, but specifically to my dad for limiting the amount that he allowed me to participate at a young age. I remember him often saying, oftentimes if you wrestle too much, you'll burn out and you'll either hate your parents or you'll hate the sport, and he really didn't want either of those things for me. And so he measured it back for me, and I really am grateful to him for that. After little kids wrestling, I won a couple of state tournaments in 7th and 8th grade. Fred Arkin was my head coach at the Junior Cougars in junior high, along with Bob Streepey at Jane Addams Jr, where I wrestled on the junior high team. Both of them had a really positive influence on my life, taught me a lot, encouraged me a lot, and really believed in me, oftentimes more than I believed in myself, and I'm in their debt. Going to high school, started off my freshman year at Schaumburg High School, and wrestled there for a year, was a state qualifier. Mike Walston was my coach. He was great for me, really fundamentally sound and a good motivator, and I was able to benefit a lot from that. Sophomore, junior, and senior year, I wrestled at Conant High School, and that's where my career really started to take off. I wrestled for Jim Cartwright, who also is in the Hall of Fame, and from go, he was a huge advocate for me. He drove me around to more places than I can count, sacrificed a ton of his time, money, and effort on my behalf, and I really appreciate him for that, amongst other things. And really his whole family, the Cartwright family, sacrificed a lot for me, as well as a number of other high school wrestlers at Conant. After I ended up winning a state tournament my senior year of high school, and finally was able to put it was the only time I ever placed in the state tournament was my senior year, and so it was a good way to finish on a high note. And then ended up going to Indiana University. I wrestled there for a couple years, and then finished my college career at Wheaton College in Wheaton, Illinois, and wrestled there for 2 years under Coach Seth Norton. And Coach Norton was the perfect coach for me at just the right time. He knew when to push me, he knew when to pull me through things, and he knew when to just let off. And I really benefited from him being my coach. Among others, I'd be remiss to not give a big thank you to my Uncle Paul Pricing. From the time I was a little kid, my Uncle Paul not only was my favorite uncle, but he also really took me under his wing. He trained with me. I blew his knee out one time. I drilled with him a ton, and very rarely, if ever, did he miss meets that I was in, even to the extent that he and my dad traveled to Duisburg, Germany, to watch me wrestle in the Cadet the Cadet World Tournament in 1992. There's too many people to thank. My family, my direct family, my mom and my dad, my brother, my 2 sisters, who just sat through way too many wrestling discussions, coming from a wrestling family. I think each one of my sisters probably got some kind of infectious disease at one point or another, and I can't thank them enough for that, and just for standing by me. And wrestling's a sport that isn't always easy by any stretch. Anybody who has done it knows that. And therefore, to have a solid family that was always there for me is something I could not have been successful in the sport without. And I'm so appreciative of all the people that have been a part, my teammates and my coaches and my family.